Should be waking now. Indigenous in the 21st Century by Alison Jelligan. Who is considered indigenous? Indigenous people are those of the Americas, like the USA, the Mayas in Guatemala, or the Aymaras in Bolivia, and Torres Strait Islanders of Austria, and the Maori of New Zealand. They're also more separated from the society that we're living in, with technology and whatnot. Here are some pictures of some indigenous people. Here are some maps of like where the indigenous people may come from. And the other one is a tribal one of like their tribes and stuff. Where do indigenous people come from? Scientists think that the ancestors of First Nations people may have come to North America from different parts of Asia and Polynesia, following several different routes. Some may have even come on woven reed rafts, or boats across the Pacific from Asia and various islands. What is indigenous culture? The term refers to any ethnic group that resides in its original location, practices a traditional culture, and speaks a minority language. Other ethnic groups may have been displaced from their original homeland, but have retained most of their cultures. Now we're going to watch a video clip that I found that's called What Does Being Indigenous Mean?
I got something new. Wait, hello?
Wait, Geogic Indigenous Cause, hello, my name is Geogic.
Trina Mumila Kakawanga, Inoyunga, Kamanito Mihaklunga. I'm indigenous. I am indigenous. I'm Inuk. I'm person. I'm a human being.
To me, what it means to be indigenous.
To be indigenous means I come from the land.
To have a connection to this place, to have a connection to this land, to have a connection to one another. While Canada is celebrating its 150th birthday, we've been here a lot longer than that.
To me, this means 150 years of attempted genocide, colonization, and cultural appropriation. But it also means 150 years of survival, resilience, and revitalization for my people. For the next 7 generations, our people will rise and will rebuild our culture that was once taken away from us.
Being indigenous means having a responsibility to one another, to our communities, to represent our communities well, and to always have each other's backs.
As an actress and storyteller, I will push for the proper representation of our people in mainstream media. Maybe over the next 150 years, we can look at the basic human rights and equality for all Canadians.
Chimigwach, I hope you enjoyed this. Peace.
Thank you. Matna, nakongmig, kwana.
Sorry, I'm not sure why it's super laggy.
Before I get started, I want to take the opportunity to recognize that we are on the traditional Arapaho and the Cheyenne.
Okay, it's being very slow right now. Back to the presentation. So, reviewing the video clip. I think the video clip did a great job of showing the different types of people and things that they do. For example, everyone in the video is very different from one another, so it shows that it doesn't even really matter what you look like or what background you're from or anything. Everyone's just very different. I also think they're all very enthusiastic about their culture and their heritage, and they all seem very family oriented. Like they always want to get together and care about each other. And they also have several traditions and rituals that they do and practice, like dancing and things like that. How and where do indigenous people live? They live in every region of the world, but about 70% of them live in Asia and the Pacific, followed by 16.3% in Africa, 11.5% in Latin America and the Caribbean, 1.6 in Northern America, and 0.1 in Europe and Central Asia. They live entirely off forests, savannas, and rivers by a mixture of hunting, gathering, and fishing. They grow plants for food and medicine and use them to build houses and make everyday objects. Here's some more maps of where the indigenous people come from, and this is from one just from the nations of Peru, and then one is the indigenous of Australia. What do indigenous people eat? Whole wheat, flour, berries, and raisins, whole wheat pastas and brown rice, oatmeal for breakfast, country meats like moose, deer, and caribou, fish meals 2 or more times a week, barley moose stew, caribou stew, or fish head soup, or fruit when it's in season. Here's some examples of some of the food that they might be eating. Do we have a moral obligation to preserve primitive ways of life? I don't think so. I think it's better to learn and create new ways of life rather than getting stuck or hung up on the old or primitive ways of life. But I don't think there's a moral obligation for specifically. Is the idea of universal human rights a morally, intellectually valid concept? Yes, I think all people have to decide their own basic human rights, and I think it's valid. You should be able to have the choice to decide your own rights and not have to worry about everything. Is it the right to practice one's culture an unviolable human right? Human expression should be guaranteed for anyone, and it should be no one should be denied their way to express how they feel or how they want to show themselves or anything. And that is the end of my presentation. So I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you.